Back soon.
But May didn't come back, and hours later she's spotted on CCTV, 16 miles from home on a busy Edinburgh street. She hasn't been seen since.
Today we need your help to find her. This is Missing Live. Good morning. We're back, and for the next 4 weeks, we'll be asking for your help once again to find some of the 200,000 people that go missing in the UK every year.
We already know how important your calls are. Last series, 17 of the people featured on the programme were found as a result of information given to missing people and the police.
But there is still many more to find, so if you can help with any of the cases you see this morning, please get in touch. The police and the charity Missing People are here live. They'll be with us all morning. If you can help, the number to call is Missing People 0500 700 700. That's 0500 700 700. Calls from landlines are free, but mobile charges may vary.
Such a brilliant response last series. Terry from Missing People is here once again. Welcome back, Terry. Tell us about some of this good news from the last series then.
We had some really good successes, and a few examples to give you now are Lee Sin Look, for example. He went missing from East London and was found because a taxi driver saw him and phoned in after the appeal, so that was great.
And stopped him in the street, wasn't it?
That's
absolutely
right.
Fantastic. Couldn't ask for better than that. Anyone else?
Yeah, we've got quite a few runaways came home as well. Abigail Davenport, she was one we were very concerned about, but she was found, and that was great news. So we were obviously very reassured there. And Robin Saker as well, very reassured that she was found.
I think we can see Robin Saker now, just another young runaway. Really important to find those, wasn't it?
That's right. She was found a couple of weeks after she went missing, so obviously a really good result there.
Brilliant. Well, that's all really, really good news, Terry. Hopefully you'll have more good news for us later in the programme. Brilliant. Thank you, Louise.
So you see, your calls really do make a massive difference, and we'll be bringing you more examples of just how later on in today's programme. But Missing People and the police still need your help with hundreds of cases like 14-year-old Pervinder Singh. Now, he walked out of his foster home and went looking for his real parents. He hasn't been seen since. Maybe this morning you can help us find him.
But first, she promised she'd be back in time for lunch. Nearly a year later, May Ferns still hasn't come home. This 88-year-old lady goes unnoticed on a busy Edinburgh street. Her husband thought she'd just popped to the shops. It's June the 17th last year. May Ferns hasn't been seen since. May and Bill got a second chance for love late in their lives. They'd been work colleagues for years, and it was after they were both widowed that they got together. For the last 16 years, they've been happily married. May doesn't have her own children, but Bill's family have become hers.
And she very much looked upon my sister, my brothers, my nieces and nephews all as her own. She actually had said that because she didn't have any children of her own, she inherited a nice big family that she loved. She was a very lovely person, you know, it's a very warm person, enjoyed having her family around her.
Since May's disappearance, Bill's world has crumbled. He's now so ill that his daughter Anne has to front the search and do the press appeals for information.
My dad has been left devastated by May's disappearance, and while we appreciate that everything is being done to try and find her, I would ask anyone who knows anything at all about where May might be to let us know where she is.
The couple's home is Livingston, just 15 miles from Edinburgh. Their comfortable and familiar routine revolves around the town and the family. June the 17th, 2008. It starts like any other day.
It was just a normal morning for them. You know, it's they had breakfast together. Dad had decided to go for his newspaper as normal, and May cleared up the breakfast things. So when Dad came back, he noticed that May was dressed for going out. And she said, "Oh, I'm just going to the shops, I'm looking for some socks."
May leaves home before 11 o'clock and it's only a 10-minute walk to town.
If she was going to the shops, she would normally be back at a set time. So she would always be back for lunch. So Dad would know that that was the time to expect her and lunch would be ready for her coming back.
Bill expects his wife to be back by midday.
When she didn't come home at lunchtime, he thought that was strange. And obviously as the day went on and she didn't come home for tea, then he became very concerned.
Bill knows something is seriously wrong when May still isn't home by the evening. He reports his wife missing. West Lothian police immediately launch an investigation.
The initial search is essentially just trying to cover as much ground as possible, trying to flood the area with police officers. We brought in some of our mounted colleagues, utilised air support.
We started a series of local inquiries in regards to immediate family, immediate friends, immediate places where May might have gone.
They interviewed us here in the house, they interviewed Dad and Margaret. Everybody that May and Dad knew, had they seen her, do they know what's happening with her?
Coming up, as the police search widens, roadblocks are set up.
Stopping and speaking with vehicles and buses this morning, trying to get an idea if people were in the area about this time last week.
And will this CCTV footage reveal what's happened to May?
May's stepdaughters are here. They'll be joining us later in the studio. But if you think you know anything about what happened to May, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700.
Now, some good news. We were going to be appealing for 27-year-old Karen Mache. This is her. She went missing from Sedgley in West Midlands on the 18th of February this year. She was spotted on CCTV at Euston Station the day after she went missing, wearing blue jeans and a royal blue hooded top. Well, the great news is that literally just before we came on air, we've heard she's now been found.
So that's good news. Let's see if you can help with this case as well. We need your help to find 53-year-old John Deacon. He's from Stannington in Sheffield. He's been missing for nearly 5 years now. He's 5'6", of medium build with thinning black hair, and he normally wears glasses. The last time anyone saw John was in November 2004, when he told friends that he was going for a walk near the coastal path at Flamborough Head near Bridlington in Humberside. Now, John also won't know that actually he's become a granddad since his disappearance, and his family really want to hear from him. If you think you may have seen him, please get in touch with Missing People. That number is on your screen right now.
Now, a young boy leaves his foster home. He was trying to find his real mum and dad. Now, your help is needed to find him.
It's the 28th of July 2008, and 13-year-old Pervinder Singh is caught on CCTV. Later that day, he's reported missing. The Metropolitan Police think there is a strong chance the boy could turn up at this temple in West London. It's 6 months since Pervinder disappeared. Sergeant Richard Mulwyn Hughes is leading the search.
This missing boy is only 14, he's from Bromley. You can take it, we've got one in there, but it'd be quite handy for you to have one at the back here because quite a few people come in from the outside, from the street, don't they, to come and have something to eat. So, yeah, just for some of your staff to be shown in, basically.
Pervinder is known at this temple because it was here almost 2 years ago. He was abandoned shortly after arriving from India.
Pervinder came into the UK in June 2007 and was taken, we believe, by family to the temple. He was found in the temple by some worshippers not long after that and given into the care of an older boy to hand on to social services.
When Pervinder was found, he could only speak Punjabi, and he didn't know where his parents were. He was moved to Bromley in Kent to stay with a foster family, and for the first couple of weeks, he seemed fine.
In August 2007, he left home with 2 other boys that live in the same foster care as him and went swimming in Bromley. Partway through their session, he got out of the pool and he disappeared from the swimming pool in Bromley Town Centre.
Pervinder was reported missing, and there was a huge search for him. Just a couple of weeks later, he turned up 200 miles away in Birmingham. Why had Pervinder travelled all the way up to the Midlands?
He explained that there were several reasons why he had run away from the foster carers. The main one was that he wanted to find his family, and he sought out a large temple where he could approach people and find out if anyone knew where his family were. And that's how he'd ended up going to Birmingham, because he was told there was a large temple, and he went on a bus to Birmingham to find that.
Pervinder went back to Bromley to his foster carers, and over the next year he seemed more settled. But last July he disappeared again.
He left home at 9:30 in the morning, and his foster carers believed that he'd gone to the temple, which is something that he did on a regular basis. He was normally back at midday. On this particular day he didn't come back, and his foster carers began to worry about him. They eventually contacted police to say that he was missing, and in his room they found a note written in Punjabi. When that was later translated, it said that he'd gone to look for his parents.
Pervinder is just 13 and no one has any idea where his family could be. Police immediately reopened the investigation. They concentrate their search all around Bromley.
Currently hand out some leaflets regarding a missing young boy. He's only 13 and he's written a letter to his foster parents saying he's looking for his mum and dad. If you have got any information, if you can give that number a call.
All the CCTV from the town centre is watched. Within days, they find footage of Pervinder recorded on the morning he disappeared.
Well, he went out at about 9:30 in the morning. He got a bus at that time, but he travelled on the bus to Croydon East British Rail Station. He then got off the bus there and got a train into central London.
But once Pervinder arrives in central London, the trail goes cold. There are no more sightings of him. Pervinder carries a travel card. Police trace it to West London. 2 weeks later, they discover more CCTV of him on a bus.
We've got sightings of Pervinder travelling in the Hounslow Central area by bus. And the last confirmed sighting we have of Pervinder is on a bus in that area on the 18th of August.
Pervinder is now 14. It's 8 months since he went missing, and the police search continues in London and Kent.
Hello. Nice to see you again. We're just going round to just re-promote Pervinder that went missing last year. We came in last year and we had some posters put up, but we're just trying to sort of re-promote the fact that he still hasn't come home and he's still missing from Bromley.
In the evening, we get a lot of youngsters, right? Every evening, I can show them around. Somebody might recognize them.
See, I don't know if anybody might have seen him, because he could have come in here and had something to eat. Does he look familiar? He's only 14 years old. Trying to sort of re-promote the fact that he's still missing this young boy. It's Pervinder Singh, and if you're able to put maybe this poster in your notice board downstairs. We've got proof that he's been in this area, so all we can do is basically sort of reinforce and rejig people's minds and memories the fact that he could still be in this area, and hopefully somebody will spot him, you know, walking down the road and phone us.
And we're joined by DI FIP, who's looking after Pervinder's case. Good morning, thanks for joining us. What do we know about how this young lad came to Britain?
Well, it appears that he came in 2007, in about May, June time. And he says that he came with his family and they took him to the temple, which is in Southall, and left him in the temple with his case, saying that they were going to make a phone call. And he was there for some time before he was approached by some young boys in the temple. And he was just appears to have been left there doesn't know where his family have gone, very distressed about not being able to find his family again.
Not surprising. Well, you mentioned Southall, but we know he's got links to Birmingham and obviously Gravesend as well. What do we know about those?
Well, first of all, with Gravesend, he was picked up in the temple by a group of boys, as I said, and the boys that he met there possibly were illegal immigrants themselves, and therefore they've handed him on to another young lad who has an address in Gravesend to take care of him and to introduce him to social services. So the young lad that lived in Gravesend was here as an illegal immigrant originally, and then given into care himself at a young age.
It's a sad story,
so
isn't it?
he looked after Pervinder.
Well, we've got to find him. We've got some CCTV, haven't we, that I think we can have a look at quickly now. We can see him here. What can you tell us about this?
Well, this is on the bus in Southall. Now, this is on the 18th of August, and we believe he actually continued to travel in that region right up until November. We've got another unconfirmed CCTV image of him in October. He's with another boy.
He's with another lad on that bus, isn't he? Now, I guess you want to find out who he is.
We do want to know who he is. We'd really like that boy to come forward, or anybody that knows either of the two boys to come forward.
And we can see him there. We can see him on the screens now. That's not Pervinder, but you want to know who that boy is, because obviously he
does
could
appear to be a little bit older
link.
than Pervinder as well.
Brilliant. Where do we know that was?
We know that was in Southall, in Hounslow Central, and that was the bus that he travelled on, or appears to have travelled on a regular basis over a couple of months. And we haven't got any recent sightings of him there. But the local Safer Neighbours teams did lots of inquiries in the area looking for him, and we've had no information from anybody who's seen him.
OK, well, such a young lad. He was 13 when he went missing. He's now 14, but we desperately want to find him. So if anyone can help, then we urge them to call in. And if you think you've seen Pervinder or have any idea where he might be now, then please get in touch with Bromley Missing Persons Unit, and the number to call them direct is 0208 284 8766, or you can get in touch with Missing People, who will pass your information on.
And we will, of course, keep you up to date on Pervinder's case, also all of the cases you see on Missing Live over the next 4 weeks. But here's what's coming up today.
More on the disappearance of May Ferns. Her stepdaughters are with us live.
And news on the man reunited with his family after a viewer spotted him 100 miles from home.
This year, Missing Live is working in partnership with BBC Headroom. So if you're worried about someone or need some advice, you can go to the website, bbc.co.uk/headroom.
Well, with us now is Paul Toohey from Missing People. Morning to you.
Morning,
you must
Liz.
have been really delighted. We had an amazing response to last year's series, didn't we?
Last year was just unbelievable. We've never, ever, as a charity in all our history, had anything quite like it. Thousands of phone calls, 17 people found, that's 17 families who've had closure. It was just wonderful.
And people's calls really can make a difference.
That's what does it. That's what does it. We need viewers to bring in their calls. We need them to get on their phones if they've got any ideas from any of the clues we're giving them, any of the information, to please ring us. We'll sift through it all. We've got even more people on the lines now for this year, so we really do think that we can hopefully find even more people, hopefully, through the help of you and the programme.
OK, well, as Paul said, your calls resulted in some fantastic reunions last year. Shahira, Ozza and her daughters was one of them. One day in November 2007, 51-year-old Shahira Ozza walked out of her house in Manchester and disappeared. For 6 months, police and her only daughter Zinat searched tirelessly. In April last year, we ran an appeal on Missing Live. Now, you'll probably recognise the face of Shahira Ozza. She's the 51-year-old mum who went missing from Manchester last November. On the last day of the series, there was an extraordinary development. A woman who'd watched the programme called in thinking she might be Shahira. Police were straight on the case.
A woman phoned the Missing People's line, and then as a result of the programme, she actually thinks she's Shahira.
The woman said she'd lost her memory, but watching the programme had triggered something, and she thought she recognised herself.
I had a number of phone calls with her, trying to build up a rapport, trying to build up trust.
Then Zinat, who'd been searching for her mother for months, finally gets a call.
It was her voice. It's just... Sorry.
Last summer, mother and daughter were reunited.
I know that in 2007 they didn't spend Christmas together. I know in 2008 they did, and it's that kind of thing which is It's the nice side of our job to see, you know, a really happy outcome to what could have been a really sad story.
What an amazing story. There will be more on Shahira's story next week for you. How unusual is that kind of story, Paul?
Well, it's not unusual. There are a lot of mental health case issues that we have to deal with at missing people. And, you know, one of the things for us when this happens and we realise that there is a mental health issue is that we know that these people are going to be much more vulnerable. So what we have to do is get information in as quickly as possible to try and bring the case to a closure.
And somebody even not knowing who they are as well seems quite extraordinary, doesn't it?
It does, but it does happen. And, of course, one of the problems that compounds that is it can be quite difficult maybe for the public to approach someone who might be suffering from a mental health issue. So you actually have a double whammy issue there in trying to get information through. So again, we say to people, if you're in any doubt, if you're not sure, call us, let us know where that person might be, because if we get a number of people calling in from that same area, we can put two and two together and hopefully find them.
OK, well, Shahira's story isn't the only reunion that someone watching helped with. We featured a similar case of a man who'd lost his memory and had no idea who he was. Well, one viewer thought they might be able to help him. Nearly a decade ago, John Renahan's dad was reported missing. After 3 years of searching, his family got the worst possible news.
The police officials called at my family's door and told me these remains that were found outside this hospital, there's a possibility this could be your father.
The death of his dad made John think a lot about his life.
In a way, it made me like a stronger person, you know, realising, you know, how my father lived, and he didn't really have a lot of luxuries. I was quite proud of him.
Then, last year on Missing Live, we ran an unusual appeal.
Your help is needed to solve a real-life mystery now, the case of a man with a missing memory. He has no idea who he is. Perhaps you do.
The elderly man had been found on the streets of Oldham. He had no identity on him and didn't even know his name. For years he'd been living in a care home and nobody knew where he came from. On the day of the appeal, John Renahan was at home watching the TV. The people caring for him want to find the identity of their mystery man. He couldn't believe what he saw.
Seeing this face pop up, I thought to myself, that's my father.
Until someone recognises him, or...
I sat down 5 minutes later, I thought, oh, hold on a minute. I cremated my father 5 years ago. That can't be.
Could the man he was looking at really be his dad? John had to find out. Yes, he did have to find out, and we will tell you what happened. He'll be with us in the studio on Friday, so you'll get more on that story then. Paul, what are you hoping for this series? We've seen 2 incredible stories there. What do you want to get?
Well, last year what we saw from the series is it started off warm and it picked up, and it just got better and better and better with more and more people. As they turned in, word got round, people started thinking, what's happening here? What are people asking for? We want your information. And by the end of the series, we had really extremely high volumes of calls. So let's pick up where we left off last year and ask people to kick straight in now with their information, because I know we're going to get a lot of responses.
You're there 24 hours a day?
24 hours a day. Please give us a call if you have any information at all about any of the information they're going to hear from you and Rav over the next month or so. OK,
Paul, more a little bit from you later as well. So your calls really do count. If you can help missing people, please call them. Their number, once again, is 0500 700 700.
Now, back to the case of May Ferns and a trip to the local shop that turns into a nationwide search for a missing person.
For many years, May and Bill were just colleagues working in a hospital together. But after they were both widowed in their 60s, they got a second chance for love.
Dad was a senior nursing officer at what was Bangor Village Hospital, just locally here, and May actually worked in one of the wards as a nurse. So it's quite funny because my dad was seen as being her boss, but when they got married, May was very much a case of, I can sort him out now because he's no longer my boss.
The couple have been married for 16 years. They live just outside Edinburgh in Livingston. June the 17th last year. It's a normal Tuesday morning. May tells Bill she's popping out to the shops.
As the day went on and she didn't come home for tea, then he became very concerned.
When she's still not home that evening, he calls the police. May's disappearance has sparked one of Scotland's biggest ever missing person investigations. Her stepdaughter is now driving the publicity campaign. Initially, the police suspect 88-year-old May could have been involved in an accident.
Because of her age and her vulnerability, has May fallen down somewhere or has May become disorientated in her route to the local shopping centre and on her way home?
They retrace the route May usually took to the shops.
There's a local path we call the Lone Path, which is a short 5-10 minute walk to the local shopping centre, the Almondvale. You'll see that the Almond River runs very close to where May resides.
Just days later, the focus of the search shifts. Could May have fallen into the river? A team of police divers are sent out.
This is one of the deeper parts of the River Almond. Anything that could get snagged in the Almond would be most likely to get snagged in this area because of the large weir at the end as well. So there was a fair bit of attention and a fair bit of importance placed on this part of the Almond.
There is no sign of May and no trace of any of her belongings. Then, a week later, there's news from the local shopping centre. She's been spotted on CCTV. But it's not from the day she went missing. It's exactly a week before. This is no comfort for May's family.
You know that it's happening to you, but you just can't believe it. And every time you go into the house, you expect her to be sitting in her chair, just as normal, reading and doing her crosswords or her word searches and things like that. And it's strange to walk in and think, well, she's not actually sitting there, and where on earth is she?
Undeterred by the setbacks, police make door-to-door inquiries. There's a breakthrough. Witnesses remember seeing May and the search is thrown into a new direction.
We've actually several sightings of May as she walked towards a bus stop here on the right-hand side at Howden. Walking along here, down the path, and that path leads to an underpass which would go under the road, which goes under the main Howden road to the bus stop where she could have got a bus. And what bus she's got, we don't know.
The search for May was reported on all the news.
Police have stepped up the search for a missing pensioner in West Lothian. 88-year-old May Ferns hasn't been seen since Tuesday morning.
Roadblocks are set up around Livingston and motorists are questioned.
We're stopping and speaking to vehicles and buses this morning, trying to get an idea if people were in the area about this time last week.
We interviewed in excess of 90 bus drivers. Some of the bus drivers we've interviewed recognise May as a previous passenger. So I suspect she probably has taken a local bus into the city centre of Edinburgh.
Still to come, the hunt for May shifts to the centre of Edinburgh. CCTV captures her walking through the city. This time, it's on the day she disappeared.
And the detective leading the search for May is here now, DI Eamon Keane. Good morning, thanks for joining us. What can you tell me about the investigation so far?
The investigation continues. We're still keen to speak to people, anybody who will have seen May. Our confirmed last sighting was on that date as she walked purposefully eastwards along Princess Street. We suspect she could have been going back to the local bus terminus that would have taken her back to the West Lothian area. But again, there's also, around the corner is John Lewis's shop where May previously shopped. And
this is a CCTV, is it, that we're talking about?
No, the CCTV image is the last confirmed sighting of May.
OK. I think we can see the CCTV now. Now, you think this could be slightly disorientating with the imagery?
The imagery, the CCTV, slightly, the colour, it's a beigeish.
Because that jacket looks quite pink, doesn't it? But it's actually, you're happy it's more beige, the colour. And she's got this walking stick as well. Tell me about that. It's quite distinctive.
It is a fairly distinctive walking stick, but 2,000 of these sticks were sold annually last year in the UK. So
okay.
It's a floral, a yellow floral pattern blue walking stick, quite distinctive.
OK, well, I really hope you the best of luck with this. the family are going to be here talking with us later. And of course, if you know anything about what happened that day to May, then you can call Missing People here on 0500 700 700.
Your help is needed to find 49-year-old Trevor Oliver, who's been missing since the 14th of January this year. He's 5'5", he's of stocky build, he's got brown hair and is usually clean-shaven. He was last seen at his home in Shrewsbury in Shropshire. Friends and family say this is out of character for Trevor, as he usually lets people know where he is and that he's OK. If you know anything about where he could be, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700.
Now, Missing People also want your help to find 49-year-old Leona Dormer. She disappeared from Evesham in Worcestershire just over 8 weeks ago. Leona's slim and around 5 foot tall, with brown eyes and dark brown shoulder-length hair that's slightly greying. She often wears a dark-coloured cap and a lime green body warmer. Police think she may have links to the Cropthorne area. So if you think you may have seen Leona or know anything about her disappearance, then please get in touch with Missing People.
Do you remember Paul Hopkins from the last series? Now, he'd been missing for over 2 weeks when a viewer called in to say they thought they'd seen him 100 miles from home. Well, Paul's family immediately went to Brighton to look for him. This is Paul Hopkins. He's now 51. In April last year, he went missing from his home in Bracknell in Berkshire.
Paul went off to work quite happy, and we went to see my daughter in Southampton. When we came back, my neighbour called me and she said, "Is Paul all right?" So I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Well, he came home not well." So I obviously raced upstairs, no Paul. My son-in-law came over and notified the police he'd gone missing.
Paul has autism and his family were desperate to find him.
We were sitting here worrying ourselves sick. You sort of think of all things, oh, is he sleeping rough? Where is he? And it's heartbreaking. Yeah, really is heartbreaking.
As police continued their search, Missing Live ran an appeal for viewers to look for Paul.
Missing People need your help now to find 50-year-old Paul Hopkins. He's been missing from Bracknell in Berkshire for just 2 weeks. Paul's 5'8" with brown eyes and short brown hair. When last seen, he was wearing a navy sweatshirt and grey trousers. And his family want your help to search for Paul.
There's an immediate response and people call in. Paul has been spotted 100 miles away in Brighton. The family head straight there.
My son-in-law decided to take my husband to Brighton. They parked the car, came down onto the beach and were just going to go and look, and he was walking towards them. Couldn't believe it. Yeah. And they looked at him and he looked at them, I think, and tears in his eyes, and Mark said to him, "Do you want to come home?" Yes. He was in a state when he came back, but we were so relieved because it was just fantastic to have him back. I owe everybody so much for finding him.
So, as his mum says, Paul was back with his family as a direct response to your calls to Missing Live, so thank you. Now, people go missing for all sorts of reasons, but in Paul's case, his autism played a major part in his disappearance. Joining us again is Paul Toohey from Missing People. How often does autism play a part when people go missing?
Well, autism is just one of many mental health issues that we have to deal with. Around 1 in 100 people actually have to live with autism. And because of the nature of that illness, they have a routine that they get into. If that routine is broken, just for the slightest moment, it can lead them off in a totally different direction, which might actually mean out in the street and into the wilderness. So it's actually very, very important, especially as we saw with the case of Paul. It took a long, long time to find, but then suddenly it was right place, right time. So we need people when they possibly come across people who look vulnerable to actually, do see whether or not they can ask whether they're okay, and if they are missing, to get in touch with us.
Last night, a young autistic man, 24-year-old Alex Demetriou, he went missing on Thursday, actually, and he was found last night. It's a lot of impact on carers as well, if they're looking after somebody with autism.
Yeah, well, carers are the extended family they're there caring for that person. They feel it just as bad sometimes as if it's actually the mother or the father of the person who's gone missing as well. So they're obviously feeling just as vulnerable. They want to know as much as possible, and they have to go back into work dealing with the rest of their people they care for while that person's missing. So it can actually impact on the work they do. So I think it's quite important that we understand that.
OK, Paul, thank you. And remember, we've linked up with BBC Headroom this year, and if you need help or advice with any of the issues you see on the programme, you can go to their website as well, bbc.co.uk/headroom.
Now, an elderly lady walks down a city street surrounded by hundreds of people. None of them knows May Ferns is missing from home.
May and Bill have been happily married for the last 16 years. One morning last June, May told her husband she was going to the shops to buy some socks. She hasn't been seen since.
It's an incredibly surreal situation to be in. You just have nothing concrete to actually go on. And I would find it incredibly difficult to believe that May would just up and go and leave the family, because she did love her family very much.
West Lothian police launched one of the biggest ever hunts for a missing person in Scotland.
We're stopping and speaking to vehicles and buses this morning.
There's no trace of May around Livingston. Then witnesses report seeing her. Could she have taken a bus out of town?
So today we're carrying out road checks of the area in the hope that any drivers who are passing by or any buses may have seen Mary on the route.
The investigation focuses on Edinburgh. There are over 200 CCTV cameras across the city, and a tireless trawl through the footage begins. Then, 6 weeks and hundreds of man-hours later, there's a breakthrough. May has been recorded walking through Edinburgh on the day she disappeared. 4 different cameras chart her route through the city. At 10:44, she's on Frederick Street. At 10:50, she's walking along Waverley Bridge. And just 2 minutes later, she's on South Street, St Andrews. May goes unnoticed amongst other shoppers.
You'll see the CCTV camera here on the side of the Balmoral Hotel, and that captured May walking along here. She's walked the length of Princess Street in good form, good shape, looking, physically mobile. Her intended destination is unknown, but maybe she was walking towards the bus that would take her back to West Lothian. Was she going to John Lewis's to do some more shopping? But this was the last time we have any positive sighting of May Ferns.
At 5 to 11 on June the 17th, 2008, she's on Princes Street. She walks out of frame and is not seen again.
I think certainly in the early stages of this investigation, it was amazing how many times when you were driving around Edinburgh in the normal course of your day's duty, you were constantly looking out to see if you could see, constantly scanning, looking for May.
The thing I miss most about May is actually her presence. When she was in a room, you knew she was in a room. And she had such a lovely smile and a very warm lady.
And for May's husband Bill, the last 8 months have been unbearable.
He just can't understand what's happened, and he keeps expecting her to come through the door, which it can be heart-sinking for him when he realises that she's not coming.
Well, May's stepdaughters, Anne and Margaret, are here with us. Morning to you. Thanks very much. You come all the way down from Scotland today. Thanks very much for coming. There has been some good news in that we've had a few calls already, 4 so far.
Excellent, yeah.
What's your response to that?
Fantastic. If it gets us the result that we need, brilliant.
How unusual was it that she would go to Edinburgh on a bus and sort of just go there for starters?
Not that unusual, was it?
She used to go to Edinburgh quite frequently No, it's for a while. Then she was it became a bit more frail. So she was obviously just going to more like the local shops. However, she obviously felt that day that she was
fit enough
well enough to do that journey.
I know it's been really difficult for your dad. How is he at the moment?
Well, this is a tough week for him. The programme going out and May's birthday tomorrow.
It's her 89th birthday tomorrow,
89th
isn't it?
birthday tomorrow, yes.
So what would they normally do on a birthday?
They would generally go out for a meal. You know, it's just a wee drive somewhere, and it's just somewhere nice that they both appreciate.
We've seen that CCTV footage of the street of Edinburgh where she was last seen. What strikes you is there are many other people on that street. So what are you hoping, that somebody saw her there?
Yeah, they may see themselves and go, oh, there you go, we were actually there at the time, trying to remember a wee bit more. And you never know, they might come in.
Does she have any contacts in Edinburgh?
She would have more or less gone for the shops. If she had wanted to go for something specific, she would go to a particular shop and then come back.
If she was meeting anybody, she would certainly say who she was meeting and how long she would be.
No, she's your stepmom, but you're obviously both of you really fond of her.
Oh, yes, definitely.
What's she like?
Oh, she's a lovely lady, very warm lady, who really loves being with her family. She adores being with her grandchildren. Her face lights up when they walk in the rooms.
What would it be like, because it's her birthday, as you say, tomorrow, to get a message or some information about her?
Fantastic.
Yeah, any information at all that could lead us to a conclusion for us all would be ideal.
And for your dad, every day she's not there, how difficult is it for him?
Very tough for him, very tough.
The thing is, I mean, he's surrounded by all our belongings in the house, so he's never away from it at all.
OK, well, thank you both very much. As I say, there have already been 4 calls, so finger crossed that some information comes out of that. And if you were on that Edinburgh street and you know anything about where May was that day, where she is now, please call 0500 700 700 and speak to missing people.
Your calls are coming in throughout the morning, but missing people still need your help on all these cases. Now, we just heard about May Ferns. It's her 89th birthday tomorrow. And as you've just seen, her family are desperate to hear from her.
Leona has been missing from Easham in Worcestershire for just over 8 weeks. She often wears a cap and a lime green body warmer. It's thought she might have links to the Cropthorne area. Have you seen her?
14-year-old Pervinder Singh left a note for his foster parents to say he wanted to find his real mum and dad. Now, we know he's already tried to find them in Birmingham, but the most recent sightings suggest he could now be in the London area, Hounslow in particular.
Trevor Oliver has been missing since January of this year. The 49-year-old is 5'5" and is of stocky build. He's got brown hair and he's usually clean-shaven. He was last seen at his home in Shrewsbury in Shropshire.
So if you can help with any of these cases, then please call Missing People. The number, as always, is 0500 700 700.
And thank you already for those calls so far. As Rav was saying, we've had 4 on May Ferns. If you were there on that street in Edinburgh and you saw her, please do call
Calls coming in
people.
on Pervinder Singh as well, which is very, very encouraging.
Excellent news. Thank you. And that's all we have time for today. Please do get in touch if you can help. And on tomorrow's programme, we'll have updates on all of our appeals, plus this as well. Natalie Putt, she's a young mother. She went missing from Dudley just over 5 years ago, and there is one place her sister believes she will always return to. Find out where when her sister joins us here in the studio.
And Paul Reed went missing in July last year. His family have been left in limbo, and his wife's here to talk about their experience.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for helping us last series. We'll be back here at the same time tomorrow. Keep those calls coming in. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.